And welcome, Hoosier Nation, to our 46th episode of the Hoosier Sound, where our show has one main goal to give you our perspective of IU sports from the point of view as a student or young adult. In addition, we also give our view on hot takes from around the sports world. I am your host, Matthew Lukens. Normally, we go live every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m., but if you miss us live, you can subscribe to us on various networks so you can listen to on your own time. Check out our Twitter, Facebook, and at the Hoosier Sound, and subscribe. All of our information is on our website, thehoosiersound.com. All right, Hoosier Nation, it's time for some sports talk. So this episode, we're going to cover a couple things. The first thing I want to cover is definitely that Big Ten Media Days. So today, if you didn't know already, I'm sorry, I just ate. So I'm like, got stuff in my throat, which is not the greatest thing to say. But anyways, so this week was Big Ten Media Days, and obviously today Tom Allen talked about IU football. So that was extremely interesting. There was a couple and very important tidbits of information that came out. First of which was, it doesn't even have to do with Tom Allen. It has to do with Delaney, the commissioner of the Big Ten, and he was asked a question about, is he going to be changing the divisions? Obviously, on the show, we've talked about previously that the divisions are obviously unfair, and that a 10-year-old with 10 years of knowledge on IU football can look at the schedule and look at divisions and go, yeah, this doesn't work. This isn't right. Like, this is not fair. Like, the West is so obviously better than the East in the Big Ten. But Delaney said that he has no plans to change divisions and that he doesn't see that they're unfair, which I don't understand how he doesn't, because the West is 0-4 in Big Ten championship games. And the only person to make a Big Ten championship game other than Wisconsin is Iowa. So it baffles me. Anyways, I'll do some IU stuff. Tom Allen was pretty enthusiastic about our special teams from last year. I didn't even know this, but apparently we were 16th in the nation in like total special teams, which is obviously great, top 25. So if our other two units of our football team could be in the top 25 of their division groups, that would be nice. And then he also talked about TJ Roof. So TJ Roof is a linebacker that we had transferred from Georgia Tech. He was talking about his work ethic and how he just brings this whole new intensity to the defense. So I'm really excited to see him play, especially since we lost so many people. As we've mentioned before on the podcast, we've lost so many people especially in our linebacking core that were super important, like T. Gray and Covington. So hopefully Roof can pick up some of the slack that is going to be needed to be picked up. He was also talking about improvement on the offensive end, because somebody asked him a question about how he plans to improve on our offense, because it has been in considerable decline since the 2013 season. Just slowly falling off until now we're in the early 100s in offensive rating. So he was asked about what could he possibly do to improve the offense. He was talking about the offensive line getting better and stronger. And I think if you've seen some of that IU football social media, the videos of Wes Martin just like, I don't even know, basically lifting an elephant off the floor, shows that maybe our offensive line is going to be a beast this year, like we were talking about previously on this podcast. I feel like everything that Tom Allen said today, we have also talked about on this podcast as things to look forward to. So it has been nothing but a pat on the back for the Hoosier Sound. But definitely a thing to look for is that the offensive line obviously improving. offensive line is by far and away the most important position group on the football field. Like if you don't give your quarterback enough time to throw the ball, or you don't give enough holes or big enough holes for your running backs to run through, then you're obviously not going to score points, or you're going to score points on yourself more than you're going to score points. And so it's good to have a really good offensive line. And obviously, we've had great offensive linemen come through IU, and we've had good offensive lines at times. But if you go back and look at the years, our offensive line has kind of fallen off. We've had one good offensive lineman, but our offensive line itself hasn't been a great unit since the 2013 season, where we were really, really good at offense. And if only we had, a decent defensive coordinator and there's so many history. Your vision is 2020, but even in the present, I probably could have said that IU's defense is terrible. So, but anyway, so offensive line getting better, and then he also said the quarterback room is great. So obviously, brought in Penix, 4-star recruit from Florida, from Tampa. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play a bit. But then we also brought in Brandon Dawkins from Arizona, who is going to be a stud. And I think his addition has been the most important one. And he was talking earlier this week. This is not just media day stuff, but he was talking earlier this week about how Coach Rich Rodriguez, who is the coach at Arizona, was talking about how he was the better quarterback than Khalil Tate, but because Khalil Tate was on such a tear that he couldn't play. And Khalil Tate was a Heisman candidate. So I think we're in good hands at the quarterback position. Finally. No offense to Richard, was decent when he played. And Peyton Ramsey's great, but he was young. So it'll be nice to have an experienced quarterback that can work in DeBoard's system. And it'll be fun to see next year. And not just more media day stuff, but I was watching ESPN and they were doing a Big Ten preview of college football, and they gave us a 7-5 record this year. They said that we were going to win 7 games, which, looking at the schedule, I think is slightly generous. I think 6-6 is right about where we're going to be at. But if we go 7-5, I'm not going to argue against that. So I like their optimism. They're much more optimistic than I am. I think the last 3 years of finally, because if you guys don't know, I was a huge University of Florida Gators fan for the longest time. And then I went to IU. So then I became an IU fan. So I didn't really know anything about IU football. And the last 3 years have changed my mind on college football. Because it can be torturous at times, especially for IU. So I think I've been whipped into shape of being very pessimistic and skeptical of anything positive about the program. But I really do like where the program's at. I think we have a great coach in Tom Allen. And this is going back to media day stuff, but he was talking about how he's trying to shape men at IU, and I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that's fantastic. I think that's the type of coach that even if we don't get to a bowl game, I'm still happy that he's our coach because he's that kind of a guy. And I'm really excited to see the future of IU football. Now, do a few assistants maybe need to be replaced before we get good? Before we improve? Probably. I'm not naming names, but his first name may be Mike and his last name might be DeBoard. But, he has 1 year, and then I will either approve him or jump ship. So we shall see. But I am slowly getting my lifeboat ready to jump off the Mike DeBoard ship before it sinks. Anyways, so that was basically it for IU Media Day. They interviewed some of the players, but they did their normal. I'm excited for the season to start, and talking up their buddies. I think another maybe note that I missed is that Tom Allen said because of the new redshirt rule, which was that I think you could play in 3 of the 12 games and still be your like get a red shirt. So he said because of that new rule that we're going to be able to see a lot more people play this year, which I think is going to be awesome. And I think it's going to be great all across college football. I think it's a fantastic change. And I think they should do that in basketball too. And I think that would benefit people where they can play, a quarter of the season and still, still have another year of eligibility out of it. That would work out really well in both college football and college basketball. But definitely that means we'll be seeing, some freshmen, some freshmen coming in and playing some minutes, which is always fun to see because it kind of shows how maybe promising the future of the program is. So while it is slightly nerve-wracking that, a former high school football player is going in and playing Big Ten minutes, or maybe he's not playing Big Ten minutes, but playing against the likes of Ball State and Virginia. But he's out there being able to prove himself, and maybe that he proves himself so well that he earns himself, a rotation spot and gets more playing time as the season goes along. So it's these improvements to college football that I think is really beneficial to college football in the long run, especially when it comes to scholarships and people getting playing time and being that person that sits on the bench all the time. But yeah, that's it for Big Ten Media Days. I was going to touch on the ugly story with Ohio State and their wide receiver coach, but I don't think this is really the right place to do that. And also, it's just I don't know enough about the story to talk about it. I know Coach Wilson is there, so I don't know what Ohio State's doing recently with their coaching hires, but they should definitely figure it out because it's really puzzling / damning some of the stuff that's coming out about their coaches. Anyways, moving on, we are going to talk about Hoosiers in the NBA. So, it's always time for some basketball talk, especially when it's IU, but we're going to focus more on the guys that used to be in the program and are now representing the Hoosiers all across the United States and Canada in the National Basketball Association. So I think I'm going to start out first with our main guy for IU, and that is Victor Oladipo. Yes, Victor. Most improved player. He just won most improved player in the NBA, which is not a honor that they give out very lightly. And previous winners of it have all been fantastic players and obviously superstars. And if you follow him on social media, he's been posting all these workout videos. And if it's either him working out or him singing, so obviously he's having fun this summer. I'm really excited to see him again next year and see how he can improve, especially with that Pacers team. They added some more shooting to that team with Doug McDermott, so that should be fun to watch. And I think he'll improve next year. Maybe his numbers won't improve. Like, I don't see him getting more than 23 or 24 points a game, but I could also see his percentages increase, as in, become a 44 or 45% 3-point shooter and from the field shoot 60% or, something like that. So it'd be really, really, really dynamic in on the floor, just in general, and be the superstar that he is. So I'm really excited to see him this year. I don't have to explain that too much to you. Most of you are Pacers fans, so I don't have to explain that to you too much. But yeah, so there's Oladipo. Second person I want to talk about is probably OG. So if you guys have been living under a rock, Kawhi Leonard got traded to the Toronto Raptors from the Spurs for DeMar DeRozan, and Jacob Poeltl, is that his name? So now the person that people were comparing OG to, I'm having an awful podcast, to OG to, they're now on the same team, which is, I think some people were like, how's that going to work? I'm like, it's going to work great. Like, there's no longer, basketball is positionless. Like, you can have 3 small forwards, or three, stereotypical threes on the floor and play a point guard and a center. And like that would be a modern day basketball NBA lineup. So I'm really excited to see them play together. Good luck to any offense in the East trying to score on those two, because both of them are like lockdown defenders, and especially a year of OG learning under somebody who has the same type of gifts as he does is going to be instrumental. And do I think OG is gonna be an all-star? I think he has the physical tools to become an all-star. I don't know if, because it's hard to say that somebody's going to become an NBA all-star because there's only so many of them. So, well, I wouldn't put my money on it, but it definitely has the potential to become one. And if he takes this opportunity of playing with Kawhi seriously, then I think he could like improve his career drastically and improve his career track. Because right now he's on pace to be that, fourth guy in the starting lineup, that defensive, the 3D guy, which there's obviously a place for in this modern NBA. Like you can be a star and be a 3D guy. Or you can become a very important piece, like ask PJ Tucker over in Houston. He's a corner 3 and D guy, and maybe even a small ball center, and he's killing it in Houston. So, I mean, OG could probably do a lot of the similar stuff. If he doesn't become the superstar that I think he could probably become, but we'll see. And then the third guy we're going to talk about is Eric Gordon. Weird summer for the Houston Rockets. They lost Trevor Ariza to the Suns, which I don't really understand because they drafted Mikal Bridges, who kind of plays a similar position. So I don't know how that's going to work. And they already have Justin Jackson, and it's like, not Justin Jackson. What's his name? Oh, my God. Their first-round pick from last year from Kansas. I can't remember his damn name. Anyways, they have him too, and they're all wings, which is, like I just said, it's positionless basketball, but they're all like 3-and-D wings, and so nobody's going to create their own shot. So the only person that's going to create their own shot is Devin Booker, and I don't see DeAndre Ayton being able to create his own shot in his first year. So it's just going to be like kind of hand the ball to Devin and just hope that the rest of the players are open for three, which maybe could work because Devin Booker's really good, but I don't know. I don't see what they're doing with that roster construction over there in Arizona, but that's besides fact. So Houston lost Trevor Ariza, who was an important piece to the puzzle, and they just are on the precipice of signing Carmelo Anthony, which I don't know what they see in him because what I saw last year in Oklahoma City was garbage. He was so bad. I mean, maybe a reunion with D'Antoni is good for him and revitalizes his career, and maybe he isn't the washed up old Melo that we all think he is, which would be obviously great for him and obviously great for the Rockets if they could get half of the New York Knicks or Denver Nuggets Melo, but I don't see it. So he's got new teammate in Eric Gordon's got a new teammate in Carmelo, and I think he's probably his minutes are gonna increase drastically because I think they're probably gonna play some 3-guard lineups with him out there, especially with his showing in the Western Conference Finals. I thought he was fantastic, and I thought he played some very decent, underrated defense against some of the harder people to guard in the NBA with the Warriors. So I do think his minutes will go up next year, which is good for him and good for IU basketball fans. Oh my God, I am having one for the books. I'm sorry, people. Anyways, moving on, we'll go to Yogi Ferrell, who has had a whirlwind of a past week because he was supposed to be signed by the Mavericks and re-signed again and getting that second contract that everybody talks about in the NBA, which is a milestone. And he didn't get it, or he turned it down, actually, because the Mavericks didn't guarantee his money. I got to sneeze. Hold up. Achoo! Anyways, wow. They didn't guarantee his money, so he said, nope, I'm sorry, I'm moving on, and signed with the Sacramento Kings. So Yogi's going to be in a backcourt with a couple Kentucky guys, and Justin Jackson, who I just talked about by accidentally, because I was thinking about the Kings when I was talking about the Suns, in that backcourt, and they're going to use him as a backup point guard, and a backup shooting guard, which is great. I think Yogi fits in great there. I think as a backup guard and just in general, that system works really well. They're not really focusing too much on defense right now and more just developing players. And so, they're not looking to win, is what I mean. They're looking to most likely, win a couple games, but they're still probably tanking. So Yogi's going to get more playing time, and more playing time for him is great because more game day checks, one, and two, he could always continue to get better, and maybe some team sees him on the Kings and go, you're too good to be on the Kings. Like, let's trade for you to get a much better backup point guard. So more playing time is better for his career. And he's going to get that in Sacramento. And then moving on, we got Noah Vonleh. Of course, he's sometimes the forgotten Hoosier as it goes to Hoosiers in the pros, because he was here for 1 year in Bloomington and gone. And of course, he was probably the missing piece to the 2013, 2014 team. But he just signed a new contract today, actually, with the Knicks. So the guy we're about to talk about left the Knicks, and Noah Vonleh is now on the Knicks. I don't see the fit with the Knicks, really. I think he might take some of Porzingis' minutes just because they like that stretch 4, like stretch 5 kind of guy. But I don't really like the fit at all, just because I thought he was much better off in Chicago, but maybe Chicago didn't offer him a contract, so New York was the only place to go. But hey, gets to play in the Big Apple, gets to play in the Garden. You can't argue against that. And then moving on, we got Troy Williams. Troy was last week was cut by the Knicks, sadly. I was asking a couple Knicks fans, and they were super, super confused on why he was cut from the team. They were actually really excited to see him play this year and play more because they really liked, and I promise this is a quote. They like how he brings the ball up the floor and he looks like an ostrich running. And I was like, wow, those are all fair points. So they were, slightly disappointed that Troy didn't get re-signed. Now he's looking for a team that needs a wing. I don't know where he's going to find that particularly off the top of my head, but there's going to be a place in the NBA for him. There's at least going to be a place in the G League, and that's not a bad thing because he needs playing time. He needs to get better, and anywhere he can get playing time is great. And then we got Thomas Bryant. So Thomas is now a player for the Washington Wizards. He's on the same team as John Wall and Bradley Beal and now Dwight Howard, which is interesting because now Thomas gets to learn under Dwight Howard. I don't know how that's going to work out, but I think it's going to be fun. And I think he's going to have a great year, and hopefully that locker room doesn't implode. That's it. That's all I can say about the Wizards. I'm sure Noah could talk for about 4 hours about the Wizards and what they're doing and how they're going to do this year, but I have absolutely no clue. So, especially in the East, it's so wide open. But Thomas is definitely going to get some minutes as a backup center, and that's great. Like I said previously, for all the guys I said before, the more minutes you play, the better you get. And the more people look at you, the more eyes that look at you in the NBA, and the more they go, I think we could do something with his game, the better your career will be. So I think Tom's getting more playing time. The Lakers really liked him. Like the Lakers were in love with him, but because of cap space and they had to get the best player in the world, they had to cut him. So it was either between him or Zubac, but they kept Zubac because he had been in the system longer, which I think is a stupid reason to not cut somebody. Is like, well, he's been here longer, so we're not going to cut him. But even though he has less potential, but you know what? I'm not running the Lakers front office, so what do I know? And the Lakers front office is, I mean, they're okay, but like I don't know what they're doing with that roster, and that's besides the fact. I could go on for like 40 minutes, like taking apart all the moves they made this offseason. Anyways, and then lastly, I think I've hit them all. I think lastly, Cody Zeller, he's still with Charlotte, which is obviously great for him if he's staying with one team. And I'm pretty sure he probably likes it there now because he's been there for so long. He better like it in Charlotte. But I feel like he needs a change of scenery. I just he's been there for so long. His role has kind of slowly diminished. I feel like finding a new system, finding a new coach, finding a new, you know, going beyond what you've already done, exceeding the status quo, changing, your everyday routine by going to a different team, I think would do him extremely well. Would definitely improve his career. Not that he's had a bad career by any means, but I think he's better than fighting for minutes with Frank Kaminsky, and he was behind Dwight Howard last year, and it's a weird situation in Charlotte, and I feel like he'd do better to get to an organization like his brother Tyler Zeller's who was with the Celtics, and I think he's floating around the NBA doing stuff. So I mean, and that's fine because at least you try to find a place where you're going to get guaranteed minutes. And I don't know if that place is Charlotte for him. And I would really like to see him probably move sometime here in the future. But yeah, I think that's it. And I'm going to wrap up now. So, well, that's it. That wraps up about our 46th show of the Hoosier Sound. I got the show number right, guys, this time. I did. I actually did. Anyways, stay tuned through updates on Twitter at the Hoosier Sound, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube. Visit our website at thehoosiersound.com to find information regarding our podcast. As always, send us your questions as the audience. So be sure to comment or send a message at contactthehoosiersound.com on what questions you'll have, and we'll get back to them on the next episode, or if you ask them during the episode, we'll get to them during the episode. Lastly, if you enjoy our show, leave us a review, tell a friend, share our links. It really helps us out, and obviously it grows our podcast. So thank you guys for listening, Hoosier Nation, and we'll see you next time.